Happy sixth grade transition night. I have to use the microphone. I'm not a microphone guy, but we're recording it and we're going to live stream it or post it, so please understand why I'm using the mic. For those of you that do not have another child or student in the middle school, my name is Mike Flynn. I'm the principal here at Timberlane Middle School. This is the end of my first year as being the principal. I was the 8th grade assistant principal for I think 3 years, maybe 4, I forget. And then I was at the high school the year before that. So we've had a great year this year. And raise your hand if you already have actually, time out. Raise your hand if this is your first student in the middle school. Oh, awesome. That's great. So this is a big informational night. We're going to go through a couple things, and then at the end we'll obviously open it up for questions and answers. Sixth grade's a big year. And we take a lot of pride in the transition activities that we do, not only from 5th to 6th, but again from 8th to 9th. We really wrap our arms around these students as they're coming in because in a regional school, coming from 4 different towns, seeing new faces, having new expectations, going from a single classroom to multiple classes, we're going to talk about all that information tonight. I can't thank you enough for showing up. That's always the first step when we have that relationship with parents at home, and understand that we're all in this together. That's the truth. And the more support that we can help with at home, we have greater success here at school for sure. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Ms. Hutnick, who is the 6th grade assistant principal, and she's going to get started on the information path, and I will see you in a little bit.
Thank you, Mike. Welcome, everybody. I am Marilyn Hutnick. I am the 6th grade assistant principal. I am thrilled that you are here tonight. Timberlane Middle School is a great place to be, and we really wrap our arms around the students, so we are excited about that. I will see your students every day, and I don't mean in my office, so it's not for that reason. They see me as soon as they get off the bus in the morning. I'm in the cafeteria. I'm in the hallways, in their classrooms almost every day, at lunch, and then bus duty at the end of the day. So I really get to know who your children are. So I'm very excited that they'll be coming. So we have several transition activities to help them get ready. If you came in and didn't get one of these brochures, there's more out in the hall. You can pick some up on the way out. But if you look on there, there's some information about the schedule, which Mike is going to talk about later on. But more importantly, the activities that we do to get the kids ready for middle school. So starting with tonight, of course, for you to get an idea about the school. But then on June 12th, we have distance learning. And what we do is we Skype into the elementary schools, and I have a panel of awesome 6th grade students who answer questions from the 5th graders. And a year ago, they were sitting in that elementary school, nervous about coming here, and they're going to tell the 5th graders about their experience and how wonderful it is at our school. So that will happen on June 12th. And then June 19th is a really big day because that's move-up day. So your children are going to be coming up here. They'll go to the elementary school. Then they get on a bus and they come over here. Mike and I meet them in the PAC. The teachers come over and they find out who their teachers are and the team that they're on. And they really get to see what the building is like. They stay for lunch, and then they leave at about 12:30. So it's a great way for them to really get to know their teachers, see the classrooms. You'll have a lot of material that you'll get when they get home, because we'll talk about Camp Lincoln and things from the nurse. So there'll be a lot of information that day. So that will be June 19th, so it's coming up quickly. And then in the summer, we have a welcome, and that's going to be August 23rd. And the teachers aren't here, but you do a self-guided tour of the middle school. Every year we have about 300, 400, 500 people who show up. We have grandparents here, we have baby carriages, it's really great. And we have the counselors here if you have any questions. And you just take a look at the classrooms and you can see where the students will be in the fall. And then the next activity we have is open house, and that's right at the beginning of the school year, so the first full week of the school year. And you as parents will come in, get to meet the teachers, see the classrooms. The teachers will give you information about the expectations for the year. And then finally, and Lois Paul, our technology integrator will talk afterwards. But we also have a technology night because we know that there's a lot of technology that you have to get used to when you come to the middle school. Everything is on Power School and assignments are online, and so she'll go over that. So for 2 hours, you really get to know about the technology that we have. So lots of transition to help you, different activities, and I think you'll feel really comfortable. If you ever have any questions, you could give me a call. Mr. Champion will be out in a minute, Mr. Flynn. A couple more things though. When you came in, there may have been a pink flyer that you got. Chrissy Mason is our PTSA president, and she is out there today. She is looking for new members. Laura Lipford, and Darlene Schmidt may be out there, and they really do a great job with PTSA. So if you think that you might be able to become a member, that would be wonderful. And then the last thing I need to talk about is really from for sports. Please make sure, these are on the website, but I also have some on the way out, and this goes over the information for middle school athletics. I think the most important thing, it has the dates for tryouts and things like that, but you have to make sure that your child has a physical on file with the nurse. And that's really important because otherwise they cannot try out. So the nurse really wanted me to stress that, and there's information on here if you need to get that on the way out, and it's all about school athletics. And then also, there was information sent to the elementary school regarding Camp Lincoln and also an allergy sheet. So that was sent to the elementary school. Hopefully you got that. If you did not, I also have copies of that, and I will have those at the door when you leave, and you can pick those up as well. So thank you so much for being here tonight. I'll be back at the end to talk about exit tickets that are out in the hallway, but thank you for joining us because like Mike, I really believe that it's a partnership and we support one another from home and school for the best interest of your child, and that's what we're here for. So thank you for joining us tonight. So I have Susan Howard, who is going to talk a little bit about the music program. We have lots of activities.
Good evening and welcome. It's a big transition when you come from the elementary school and you come into the middle school. My own children came through this school district. They've been through the middle school. There are lots of veteran teachers here whose their children have all come through, and there are some little ones who are still waiting and growing up and will be following through with those of us who work here. We truly believe in this program and all the work that we do here. The main difference in the music program, there is a general music program, same as they have in elementary school, but all of this is part of the day. It's actually part of the school day. It goes alongside with their computer classes and their cooking classes, the FACS classes. All of it is scheduled into their day. So whether they're in band or chorus or orchestra or in the general music program, they are tracking along with everything else. The programs are graded. It's part of what they do, just like their foreign language classes will be. The nice part about that is it gives them a chance to grow on a steady basis. So it's not like I missed a pull-out or a special thing that I needed to do, because sometimes that's a little erratic, as it would be. It's just nice for them to be able to have that contact. In addition, when they hit 7th and 8th grade, there are other programs that they can be part of, like the chamber choir or the boys advisory chorus, the jazz band, the chamber orchestra, and those all happen during what we call an advisory time. So we really get to know our kids because we get to spend the first 20 minutes of the day after they've gotten here to get to know that small group of kids that we see every single day. It's a wonderful school. I can't say enough about it. I could go on and on and on. The best thing about this school is it is vibrant and alive. And what do I mean when I say that? There are things happening before school, there are tons of things happening during school, and there are tons of programs that happen after school. We are very privileged, and it's such an opportunity because kids can be busy. If they want to be busy and in the middle school have their wings spread and try new things, they absolutely can. And it's a joy to be able to work with your children, and I certainly look forward to meeting them. If you have any questions, I would truly encourage you to just email us. at the school, and the teachers will answer questions for you in addition to your absolutely fabulous administration. Can't say enough about them either. And I will guarantee you, your child will get to know Marilyn Hutnick. She truly is everywhere.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you. All right, we will go to the next one. Next. Thank you. Lauren? Next, we have Lauren Caffell to tell you a little bit about special education. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lauren Caffell. I'm the special education administrator for the middle school. That's a little bit different than where you are coming from the elementary school, where the principal and assistant principals do a lot of that work. We're a little bit bigger, and while our principal and assistant principals are fantastic, I have the opportunity to kind of oversee all those special education and support programs that we have for students. So if you have a child who has a plan that needs a little bit more support, some additional services and resources, that's what I'm in charge of. That's what I help to coordinate. And you will be working with me over the course of the next year.
Hi everyone, my name is Zachary Champion. I will be your students' school counselor next year. Hopefully they've told you that I've visited all 4 elementary schools already and done a presentation to all the students. It was a great time getting to meet everybody and had some fun with them down all the elementary schools. And I get to meet with all their teachers and hear, feedback about what type of learner your students are as well. And of course, I got all the parent surveys that we send home. We also get these profile sheets from teachers just so we have a kind of a record of what type of learner your student is. So I'm excited to work with this group. The nice thing about middle school is I stay with your child all 3 years here. So right now I'm currently the 8th grade counselor, and I'm going to loop back down and then stay with this group all the way through. So even though they change teachers every year and stuff like that, I'm the consistent person, and hopefully they will reach out to me if anything. I'm here to support in any way they need, anything they need, school, social life, all that. I mean, I still see 8th graders, I know them all, but they didn't come to me. Maybe it's 8th grade year, and then we kind of fix something, put something in place, and they're like, oh man, I wish I came last year or the year before that. So please encourage your child to come to me, and I tell them I'm here to help in any way. I look forward to getting to meet them all personally. I do a lot of work at the beginning of 6th grade, going into classes and doing some group activities, and then of course meeting with them as much as possible individually as well to learn a lot about them. So any questions, concerns, please reach out to me, phone, email. Even going into this year, I've already talked to a number of parents on the phone or via email already, which is great. So yet again, we're big on communication here and working together to make sure your child is successful. So yet again, Zachary Champion, please reach out. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lois Paul. I'm the District Technology Integration Coordinator, and I come with good news for you. Next year, we're continuing our one-to-one Chromebook initiative, so all of your children will be getting a Chromebook to use for the year. Not only for the year, they will keep the Chromebook up until 8th grade. They will then possibly turn it in, maybe not, but when they go to the 9th grade, they'll be getting another one. So last year was our first year, and I think it was really successful. We are a Google for Education school. So in the middle school, all of the teachers use Google Classroom. In the elementary school, some of the teachers use it all the time, but everybody uses it from 3rd grade up for Blizzard bags. So your children are familiar with Google Classroom. Your homework next year will be in Google Classroom, so that you will know where it is. Your child will be getting their Chromebook after Camp Lincoln. This year we passed it out in open house, but they really didn't use them until after Camp Lincoln anyway, so instead of rushing everything, this year when your child comes, they'll get their Chromebook after Camp Lincoln. We have an insurance plan that we hope you will purchase. The insurance plan is $30, which really is $10 a year. And it covers if something should not be working the way it should be working. It doesn't cover liquid spills, or if it falls off the top of the bed and breaks, that may not be covered. But we cover mostly things that can be fixed quickly and returned. We hope you get the insurance, because if you get the insurance, you don't pay for it. If you don't get the insurance, you pay for every little thing that happens. So please think about that. And also, I will remind you that we are having a tech night for parents in September, and we encourage you to come because we will be talking about the Chromebooks, we will be talking about Google for Education, we will be talking to you about all the apps that they use at the middle school to keep you in the know. So if you have any questions, my name is Lois Paul, and all of our email addresses in the district is our first name dot our last name at timberlane.net. So I'm happy to answer any questions after tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Lois. Okay, so I know that was quite a bit. So just to recap, Ms. Hutnick is the 6th grade assistant principal, and she's literally one of the nicest human beings I've ever met in my life. And I don't say that to a lot of people. She is there for you, and she couldn't be a better 6th grade administrator because she knows how to communicate with the parents in that transition with those concerns, or as you start to see some new things that might occur this year. She has lived through it. She has been through this grind over and over and over. I've learned more about 6th grade this year than I ever have, but she is a great support person for you. Ms. Caffell, who is the director of special ed, you're going to see that as she mentioned. You know, at the elementary, you basically had the principals and assistant principals running all of the special ed, anything that may be occurring, but we are fortunate, however you may look at it now that we're bigger, that she is in direct communication with all of that. So that's your resource for anything in special ed. Not that we're not involved or Ms. Hutnick's not involved, but she's the lead person. Mr. Champion, I think it's, I've worked in a couple districts. It's amazing that your guidance counselor at the middle school gets to loop with you. You're going to form that relationship with him. The students are going to get to know him, but then they have him for the next couple of years here. So that's important. And then Ms. Paul came in, and I'm so excited about how we're continuing the one-to-one initiative. I know there was some talk about what's been going on, but we have seen enormous growth in our 6th grade students, not only within how we're teaching them or how we're educating, but how their buy-in back to us is with the interactive lessons that we got going on, with that device being a communication piece. I'm not saying that technology is, you know, live all or everything, but it has allowed us to take our education to a new level. One other piece I wanted to revisit was the sports piece, to hit home the physical piece. If they do not have a physical on file prior to fall tryouts, they will not be allowed to go on the field. That is as cut and dry as it is. We have parents every year that show up and say, but there is a non-discussion from 6 actually through 12. We have seniors that show up with a physical that's not up to date and they can't go out for the first day. So if your student's going to participate in a fall sport, make sure you have that physical on file. It has to be within that year, by the way, too. So you may have had it occur already and it's up to date. You just have to submit it. But if it hasn't been within that year of the first tryout, they cannot go out for that piece. All right? I'm going to speak to you about a couple different things. And this was the first year that we implemented block scheduling. So now I'm going to ask the opposite question. How many parents are here have a student currently in the middle school or have gone through? That counts too. All right, thanks. It was a big switch for us. There was a lot of anxiety within the public in regards to this switch. But as I sat here a year ago, literally talking to the 5th grade parents, I said that the 5th to 6th grade transition is going to be the easiest of anyone else in the district, 6 through 12, and that's because, believe it or not, your students are already living a block schedule whether they know it or not. And that's within the one classroom for the majority of the time. So they're sitting or learning or using activities more than our students were ever before. So our 6th grade teachers, I spoke with them recently, have reported out that all of their apprehension coming into it as an educator, they didn't see any of that. They didn't see of the, I'll use the famous, the multiple quotes, my kid can't sit still, or there's no way they can focus, or they're not going to be able to handle it because they're so young. Actually, our 6th grade transitioned the best this year because they were able to know the expectation of when they came in and they're like, oh, I'm with you for the next hour, here's what I'm going to be doing, and we're going to be bouncing back and forth. So our block schedule has been really successful at the 6th grade level. The key trick is, wait, not yet, Dean. Don't show all the secrets. On the flip side, the most challenging part for 6th grade was the A and B day schedules, all right? So starting on day 1, that's an A day, and then day 2 is a B day, and it goes A, B throughout the year, and that calendar is located on our website as well. But if you have science and math on A on Monday, then you won't have science or math again until A day on Wednesday, all right? So it's an alternating schedule. So the challenging piece for 6th grade students and parents was time management. So they come home, you say, how was your day? Do you have any homework? They'll say, oh yeah, I have science. But science work's not really due until Wednesday. All right, so it took some time. I'm not saying it was great, but it took some time for 6th grade students and families to time management appropriately. At the same time, we checked in at the end of the year here, and they've learned to schedule so well that they'll come home and say, oh, that's not due till Wednesday, I'll do it tomorrow. I'm going to work on my stuff that's due tomorrow. So just be aware that we're an A, B day schedule throughout the year. With online learning days, it'll be communicated in the message whether it's an A day or a B day, and then the way you pass stuff in is all communicated correctly on, all right, when you come back it's a B day, so the online work's not actually due until the following day. All that stuff's communicated out in those messages and through our teams. Opportunity block, you're going to hear a lot. That is something we also implemented this year. And op block, you'll hear a lot of students say. It is a built-in every other day scheduled time for students to do multiple things. And we've really had to learn as a building how to do this appropriately. Because the directive from me is it's not a study hall. All right? It's not what did you not complete, what homework didn't you do. That's not the objective of opportunity block. Opportunity block is actually a little bit different. It can be time for students who did poorly on a, I'll use the word test, or performance task. It's an opportunity for them to go and meet those teachers and say, hey, Mr. Flynn, I struggled. What did I do wrong? How can I do better? It's also an opportunity for some of our excelling students to do an extra, it's going to sound like more work, but it's not. But they have, all the teams decide where students should be. And maybe some of our higher level math students are now trying and dipping their toe into algebra. It's also an opportunity for some relearns. You'll hear about relearns here in 6th grade that your student will have an opportunity if they do poorly to relearn. But in order to relearn, there are some contracts stipulations that need to be made. All the homework needs to be completed. Maybe it was a 20-minute work session at home with the parents that needs to be signed off on. So those are some things that can happen in opportunity block. The reason why we put it on here is to communicate it again that if your student comes home and says, oh, don't worry about that, I'll do it in op block, they're probably lying to you. Because that's not what we're doing in op block. We're not saying, all right, here's what's due tonight, but don't worry, you can do it tomorrow. It's an opportunity, not to use the word, to do other things other than what's going on in the core class. And our teams have done a great job. Sometimes it's skill building, sometimes it's organizational skills, sometimes it's peer-to-peer conflict resolution. All those things are occurring in opportunity block. World language. 90% of the students are going to enter into a world language program as a 6th grader. And every student, if they are in a world language program, their first trimester, we're trimester based, their first trimester is going to be the exploration of world languages / Latin. Okay? And this is the first year we did it, so they get to learn about the cultures, why we learn world languages, what it's going to be about, and then they use the Latin to talk about the prefixes and the suffixes and the base of the words. And then they're going to get a trimester of Spanish, and then they'll get a trimester of French. All right? That's the first time this year we've been able to do it. It's been great. We've seen our highest French numbers than we've ever seen, because before it would be basically just Spanish, and then they would do a week of French, or they would do a week of Latin. So now we're really getting exposure into these students and letting them allow to be able to choose a lane when they get to 7th grade. Reading, I'm not going to get into the educational speak about how important reading is and what a difference it can make, a book a night, how many words, all of that stuff. But we take it very serious around here that they'll have a reading block for all 3 years in the middle school. So every day they'll have a 35-minute block that we call it a read block, but several things happen in a read block. There are times in which a team will be doing a team read, so they'll all be choosing the same book, everyone on the team will be reading at the same time. They'll have discussions about the book. There'll be a time when they're choosing their own book and conferencing with the teachers themselves, and the teachers are building that relationship saying, well, why'd you choose Harry Potter? Or amazingly enough, I had a conversation the other day where students didn't know what Harry Potter was. And now I'm getting old. So Harry Potter's the greatest books ever, so we should look into that. But that's the conversation that they'll be having with the teachers. Then there's also times that the teachers will be doing a read aloud, and they'll be reading to the students a certain book. Actually, Mr. Wade came in my office today, and he's doing an activity with his students to bring your book to life. I guess that's the easiest way I can say it, but as he was reading it, he was recording it on the app, on the Chromebook, and then they were going to play it in front of the classroom to show their emotion and their effect towards the character and what they felt was going on in the book. So those are some things that are going on in the read block. It's very important. It's helped our students transition into their other core classes, and we've seen a lot of success with that. Unified Arts. Being a former Unified Arts teacher, this typically ends up being students' favorite classes in the middle school. They get away from math, science, social studies, and world language, and they get into technology class. So every year they will have computer technology, they will have family and consumer science, they will have STEAM, they will have art, they will have phys ed, and health every year. We finally have made that work in our schedule. So every year they will have those unified arts classes. And depending on where it falls in the schedule, some will have it first trimester, some will have it second trimester, some will have it third trimester. It's really an avenue for these students to start reaching out to see that, and again, you're going to hear pure unified arts coming out of my mouth here, that there are other things in life other than those core classes, and there are other skills that you need to learn and build through those unified arts classes, whether it be as simple as in phys ed team building, or whether you're in computer technology and you're learning how to animate, or whether you're in art class and you're actually learning how to finally draw. Unlike, I don't know if anyone is a horrible person, I cannot draw for the life of me, but it is at least expanding their palette of education and what is out there, because when they get to high school, they're going to really choose their path and choose which avenue they're going to head down with their electives. So that's kind of a sprinkling of what their day will look like. Now, Dean, you can show them the picture. Thanks for waiting. Of what their days are going to look like. And this is what their schedule will look like next year, every one of them. No matter what team they're on, what teachers they have, this is what they'll do. So when they come to school, they will go to advisory. And advisory is anywhere between 15 and 20 minutes, depending on the day. They have an advisory teacher that is set up for them throughout the year. There's a huge relationship piece. There's academic days in advisory. There's social days in advisory. There's days that they're checking in with their teachers on grades. It's really a start to the day for students to get acclimated of what's going to be happening every day. There's a lot of chaos in everyone's life once they leave the school. Our kids are involved in more than they ever have in their life. So when they come in the building, we kind of give them that adjustment period of the first 15, 20 minutes to get the day ready and go. After that, they'll be attending their first core class. So that could be math, social studies, science, or language arts. And on an A day, it'll look different than a B day. After their first core class, that's when they jump into, this is a misprint. It's an opportunity block or a world language. So on an A day, they may have opportunity or world language, and then on the B day, they have the opposite. They'll have the world language. So opportunity and world language always are opposite of each other for your student. Okay, that's a misprint. After that, they go into their next core class. So again, one of the four, math, science, social studies, and language arts. And sixth grade actually has it the best. That's the truth, is where their lunches fall. So that lunch falls right in that second core class. And to be transparent with you, our lunches for the first time rotate every trimester. So if they have first lunch, first trimester at 11:20, then the next semester they'll have it at 11:30, and then the next semester they'll have it at 11:40. So every student gets a different time of the lunch. Piggybacking the lunch is outside time or / recess time to give them fresh air, time to run around, exert some energy. So within that 25, 30-minute period, every student is having lunch, and then they get outside time. If it's raining, we actually open up the gym. We've scheduled it finally so that there's no gym classes, sorry, no phys ed classes during that time. And there's always that activity period, which allows them in the middle of the day. After that, they're back to reading, and we talked about those activities that we're doing, and then they finish up with Unified Arts. They'll have 2 classes every day of Unified Arts. So this one block of an hour and a half is actually 2 classes for them. So it could be phys ed and tech ed, it could be art and STEAM, however the computer generates their schedule, they'll finish every day with 2 Unified Arts classes. I think next. Did you want it back first?
No, we'll do Q&A and then
Okay. I know we just fed you a lot of information, and don't panic because this presentation will be posted. We will email it out to you for the link. As I say to everyone, if you leave here and you say, I should have asked that question, and what you do is you shoot me or Ms. Hutnick an email, or Ms. Champion, whoever you feel like it needs to go to, and we'll certainly answer that question. The goal of tonight was to give you a basic overview of what is going to be occurring when they come into this school so that you have a better idea. Those transitional activities are great. I wish that we could do, I wish we could, let me say this the right way so I don't get in trouble. The distance learning, I really wish that we were able to send our 6th grade students to the school or bring the students here, but logistically it's impossible with the 4 towns and the buses. So the distance learning is the way that we're able to communicate those questions that those students have with our current 6th graders. The next night with the move-up day, thank you. That's a big day where they get to get on the bus, come over here, meet teachers, see what's going on in the CAF, get a better idea. But as a parent, don't let them stress out because then there's another day, which is the invite night. What do we call that?
the welcome that we have in August.
Okay, the welcome. And again, that is, there's no teachers here, but you come and you grab a map and you walk around. You get to see every classroom. You get to see where they are. You can do a route of their schedule if that helps them. All these things are in place. And then when they get here, we take care of them on the first day. We have people wearing the same color shirts with signs up. No one gets lost. We walk them to the classroom. If you really want to help us out, you can teach them how to do a lock prior to the first day of school. That helps. We'll work through them with their locker. We'll get acclimated with teachers. They're not jumping right into academics on day 1. There's still a transitional piece when they approach on that first week of school. All right? Any questions? Yeah. So the question was that we have some students coming tomorrow. Yep, that's fine. We have some students coming tomorrow. There are some transitional things put in place for some of our students on special ed plans. That is through their IEP or whatever it may be. So those transitions are including the one that's going to be occurring as well. So they're getting some extra transitional events for that.
Okay, my understanding, this is, again, I apologize for everybody here, but my understanding was that he will meet with Mr. Champion.
Yeah.
And he will have.
Yep. Yeah, he will. Yes, there are some students. Yep, there are some students that are on special ed plans that require some extra transitional activities that we're taking care of. Yeah. I have to repeat every question or else Dean will yell at me. So the question was, what did we find out about busing? Busing will come out, there will be an email from the district sometime in August because they reroute every year. So they actually have no idea because if a student moves in August, they have to be included in the route. So there's really, they don't release that information until around, I want to say the 2nd or 3rd week of August. You'll get an email from the district that says routes are posted online and then you can access that there. The 23rd, the only welcome day we have. That has actually been a new, last year was the first year we did that. It's a new transitional piece that we had. We've never had it before. And then we also, so in regards to your question, that is the only welcome day, yes. If you have a pre-planned or you're on vacation, which we've had, contact me or Mr. Champion and we set that up individually. We work all year round, believe it or not. People, you work all year round? Yes, we do. We're already preparing for next year, but if you have that scheduling conflict, just reach out to one of us and we'll set you up. And then we moved open house up to the earliest it's ever been, which is the first week or two. First full week of school, which typically that was always in November, October, but we've moved that up to help with that transition piece. I saw a hand up over here. Correct. So the question was, are parents expected to be outside at the bus stop? Good news or bad news? That's no longer a requirement. That the law says once they're in 6th grade, there is a piece that there's an expectation that they can reach the door by themselves. There are other things in place, but that is, I know I still have to wave to Miss Lucy every day to let my kids off the bus. That no longer exists. Yeah. So is there an enrichment program? Since my time here, which is now 5 years, we have not had an enrichment program. We have enrichment built into our instruction. Opportunity Block has saw a lot of our enrichment grow. Specifically, it's really allowed our teams to have those individual conversations about students and their needs. So before, when it was only happening within the classroom, Opportunity Block has really allowed, Mr. Wade, just to give an example, he took, 15 students who already had completed what was going on and took them to a different level. They created paper mache masks in regard to the tribe that they were learning about, whereas some students who need the intervention and the help are actually getting that time built in rather than it having to occur at extra time. But there is no enrichment yet. So the question was, can I call you transfer? We had a transfer that came into district, and they were asking about how one of the requirements said that they need a musical experience. That's not completely accurate. We have plenty of kids that move in all the time that haven't. We just had one 3 weeks ago who started a guitar out of nowhere. So what you're going to need to do is contact Zach, and right there, that guy, and he will help you through that process. He'll talk to Mr. DeBartolomeo, Sue, all those people. So if he's interested, we'll support anything in that matter. Go ahead.
The physical for sports?
Yeah.
When and who do we pass it? The nurse?
Physical for sports, when and where. You can pass it into the nurse at any point. You can even get it, they love getting them ahead of time. If you have it now, and it'll be good for that year, for September, you can pass it at any point, say my son, and they document all that. So there's, from now until August, you can pass that in, okay? Yeah.
So back to Opportunity Block.
Yep.
If your child's not one that is good and saying, I need help on this, or I want to do this, is there guidance?
Yeah, that's, the question is if my student isn't very good at self-advocating or communicating with that they need help, what can occur? Our teachers, especially at the 6th grade level, they meet twice a week to talk about students specifically who may be struggling, or they've had an email from a parent saying, hey, can you check in with my kid? And that's when all that's driven. So if you feel as though your student is not receiving the support they need, that's when you contact the team, contact Mr. Champion, I almost called you Ms. Fanning, contact them, and then they can certainly help with that piece for sure. Okay? I saw another one. Sorry, I'll go that way 1 second.
Yes, I know this is not a topic that we like to really talk about, but tactics, techniques, procedures, security.
Yeah.
Do you have that
Sure.
laid out?
Security, that's a hot topic, and rightfully so. I have kids myself in elementary school. I received the nickname Safety Man. I think that's what it's called because that's how important it is to me. Safety is something that we fight every day, no matter where we go. And I'm just going to have an honest conversation with you all, no matter where you go, not just school. My wife's a nurse, and we have conversations all the time. I'm like, do you scan people that come into your unit? No, we don't. Okay, so in regards to school and our safety things, we have a camera everywhere. There's not a single dark spot in our school. I'm able to. Everyone makes fun of me because I have the monitor up every day. I'm monitoring what's going on. We have the double doors. You have to get double buzzed in to come here. People aren't just able to access the building. We have 7 types of drills that we run throughout the year. We have evacuation drills, fire drills. We have lockdowns. We have shelters in place, not only with our staff, but with our students. I'm very proud of our students and staff because we've had a couple instances this year, the see something, say something. And we've, truth be told, luckily, it was just all parents that were roaming the building at some point, but the students thought something looked suspicious, so they reported it, and it comes to us, and we take care of it from there. We have all our doors locked. Since these things, the state's giving a lot of money to districts. They're actually matching up to, I want to say, it's getting recorded, so I'm going to get documented, but I think it's up to $8,000 or $10,000 that they're matching with any school that wants to make improvements. We're in the process of making some improvements this summer in regards to our entryway so that Currently at the middle school, we're the only building where you get buzzed into the first set, and then in order to access our front office staff, you actually walk into the building and around. We're working on eliminating that so that it's only a one access window point. Not that there's any severe security concerns there, let me preface that, but it is something that we take seriously every day. Our staff are diligent on if they're outside at recess and they see a car floating around, they'll report it to the front office. We have an SRO, Pat, Officer Pat, I'm sure a lot of you, he's been around forever. The guy's amazing. He is the best thing that we've had. We've had a rotation of them for a couple years in a row, but man, he is so good. He's on duty all the time. He's a walkie-talkie away. So safety is a serious priority for us, and we don't take it lightly. So to speak to that procedure, so there's two options. Your student will either have lunch first, followed by recess, or they'll have recess, then come in for lunch. And no matter whatever direction it is, there is a plan in place that everyone is aware, not just the team or the students, but the front office, Ms. Hutnick, on which door they exit, which door they come in, and then the students are accounted for outside. Outside, we always have 3 adults. So 3 adults manage 95 kids. It's 1 per 30. But what's comical, believe it or not, they all end up in the same spot anyways. They don't drift too often. And it's all procedure. There's no one that goes unaccounted for. There's no one that disappears. Anyone that exits, comes in, all of that stuff is documented and paid attention to. We have not had a missing child this year. Yes. So band is an every other day class. So band is married, if you can follow me real quick, band is married to phys ed or health. All right? So on an A day, if they have phys ed, it's down in the unified art block. If they have phys ed on A day, they'll have band on B day. So if they have band on A day, they have phys ed on B day or health. So band is always married to your phys ed or health block at the end of the day between 12:45 and 2:15. Is that right? All right. Getting better. Anything else? Go ahead. Sure. So it's the question was, what is advisory academic, or is it? So it's both. It's not called an academic advisory. What days are 6th grade academics?
Tuesday and Thursday.
So on Tuesdays and Thursdays of every week, they're academic advisories. So it's strictly driven towards academics, and it's a small group setting, no more than 12. I think it's smaller than that. Yeah, somewhere around there, somewhere between 8 and 12. So there is I'll call it their social days, then there's our academic days. So it occurs on both. And you'll know that advisor at the beginning of the year, because we don't do advisors till later. But once you know their advisor, you can always use them as a contact point too. Sure. So in our building that's really old, we're a big square with a hall down the middle and then a hall down that middle. So it's a square with a T. And in the front of the hallway here, when you first come in, is 90% of the 6th grade classes. There are a couple that end up on the wings here, and then down the middle. Then in the middle of the school, straight down the heart of it, is 7th grade, the majority of them. And then in the back of the school is the 8th grade in your unified arts classes. The majority of the transitional times occur at different times. So I only think there's 2 during the day in which the whole building is moving at once. But they're so isolated, so even when the 6th grade's transitioning to the back of the building for unified arts, 8th grade's in their core classes. I only think it's that last day, that last period. I'm just talking to them, sorry. But there's not too many times where the whole building's moving at once. So does that answer your question? Okay.
Unified arts blocks, I've heard you mention phys ed and band. Do you have what I was familiar with, like shop class and cooking class and sewing class? Is that integrated in there?
Sure. So they'll have art, and then STEAM. STEAM is our, I'll call it the new hot button in education, but it's the stuff they do in there is great stuff. Then they'll have family and consumer science, which is they'll do cooking, and then they'll also do nutritional. I think it's nutritional in 6th grade. And then they'll have computer technology, which they go everywhere from typing. Believe it or not, that skill, which was an area of focus in my generation, is we almost assume that they can type, and that's not true. But they'll do animation, they'll do all that stuff. So it's all built into that unified arts. We are team-based. That's a great question. I'll explain it right now. So are we team-based? And that is 100% accurate. So your student will be placed on a team. Are they all called the same thing next year, Ms. Hutnick? Are we changing team names at all? You're not sure yet?
Yeah, we haven't decided
Okay.
yet.
I've kind of, just for the record, I'll throw it out there. I've kind of made some changes for next year because this is my first year in my seat. So I took what we had, and there'll be some adult changes with who's on what team. So that's why team names might not be set the way they are. But your team, your son or daughter, there's 300 of these, right? 297 next year, I think it was. So big class coming in. You guys are the peak. We saw a lot of this and then a bump. So I don't. They'll be on a team of roughly about 90 to 100 students. And of those 90 to 100 students, they'll have 4 core teachers. So they'll have math, science, social studies, and language arts. Now, if you're doing the quick math, it's going to say class sizes are 25, but that's not completely accurate because other things with other students occur during the day. So don't just draw that straight 100 divided by 4 because that's not accurate. So throughout that year, you will deal with those 4 core teachers in regards to that area when you're dealing with core subjects. But when they go to Unified Arts and you have an issue or may have a concern with art, you would then email Mr. Champion or the teacher directly to ask about something that may be occurring. But throughout that 180 days, they will be based on that team. I'm going to use champions because I know that name's not changing, and I know that team's not changing. So if you are a champion on day 1, you'll be a champion on day 180, and you will deal with Mr. Wade, Mrs. Anderson, Mrs. Gagnon, and Mrs. Torelli throughout the year on your core stuff. You may hear from them on other things in regards to achievement, behavior. You may reach out to them. You can reach out to one, and they all deal with it. But they meet as a week to discuss all those 100 kids. They will know that on move-up day, correct?
Yes.
Yes, they will know that on move-up day. So you will hear about it probably through a text message before they actually get home about who they like and don't like and why they're on the team they are. It is correct. It is. I'll use the word random. Yes, there are a couple ways we do it. We use a model from a computer, but then we also use human intake, and that's what Mr. Champion's done. He's gone out to every school and visited with the counselors and teachers to try and create the best team model possible. Great question. So on the first day of school, they're actually going to go, they split them up alphabetically, and they do a lot of team stuff on that first day. So they don't hit advisory, I think, till the next week. Is that fair?
A couple of weeks.
Yeah. So they don't hit advisory, 6th grade, until a couple of weeks in because they really want to get that teaming and the locker and the schedule and the routine down. So that advisory breakout is typically about a week or 2 after school starts. Again, they're really hitting home where their core classes are, where their lockers are, where the scheduling is, how to get to and from. And then they break out into advisory.
And then always starting at the same.
Always starting advisory. After they hit advisory, the only time they go to homeroom is on a delayed opening and I think
First day of a trimester.
yeah, first day of a trimester to get a schedule, but advisory from there on out is the spot that attendance is done, all that stuff. I saw you. Sorry, I took a couple. All right. So 2 questions. First one is, will teachers be using Google Classroom and then PowerSchool? So let me attack Google Classroom first. This year in 6th grade, I'm not going to speak about 7th or 8th yet. To speak to 6th grade, we've had to adjust and learn how to post appropriately and in a timely fashion because in the past, that instant access for our own students wasn't necessarily what was going on. So even though a student prior to the Chromebook, even though a teacher may have posted the assignment at the end of the day, the student may not have actually had an access at home, so it didn't matter, so it was communicated a different way. So in 6th grade, to speak specifically, our teachers have had to learn that A, they're going to be held a lot more accountable because parents are accessing it more, students are accessing it a lot quicker. They're looking for that lane to be the driver. So our improvement in 6th grade has gotten a lot better. I think you'll see improvement in 7th grade next year because of that one-to-one device. We're developing a new procedure this summer for expectations of our staff on when appropriate time to post would be. All right, we changed this year at the middle school level for PowerSchool to piggyback on that. A directive from me in the district that our teachers have to update their grades every 2 weeks. There has to be something inputted every 2 weeks. It doesn't mean every assignment that they're doing is going into PowerSchool, but there needs to be data to show the parents at home what's going on every 2 weeks. So that's the procedure that's put in place currently. At the high school, I'm not going to speak about them, but they're a different procedure. So yes, you're the 3rd parent tonight, because we had 7th grade night before, about improving in that, and that's going to be a goal of ours as a building. So we're not class-based attendance, we're only day-based at the middle school. So what you're sharing is what a high school, they're credited every class, we're not. So ours is, if they miss first core and then they miss first core again, it doesn't count against them in that area. It's a tardy to school no matter what. Sure, and we've learned a lot of difficulty. I know you guys lived it in the 5th grade. I think every online learning day was a B day this year. You know, it was a disaster in our schools because every day was a B day. Some of that's just the schedule is posted to the AB, so I know at home it's hard, but if you pull that schedule and you say, oh, you missed an A day last time, you can miss a B day this time. And also at the middle school, every trimester we look at our classes, and sometimes there is shifting of students between core classes and the time of the day. We've really looked into a lot of options, but currently we're going to stick with the same model we did this year. We want to relive it again to make sure that some of the things that we saw this year are a true component of block, or if it was just really bad luck this year. Yeah. So if you're absent on an A day, or you have an orthodontist appointment, whatever it may be, when you come in the next day, the following day, it's a B day, you will not have that class, but you have a chance during advisory and or during opportunity block to say, hey, I was out yesterday, I missed this class, I really need to go see them. Just had a discussion an hour ago with 7th grade parents with Google Classroom and talking about one of the ways to improve. I'd really like to drive our students to advocate and communicate while they're out. Hey, Mr. Flynn, I'm going to be out. I'm out today at a dentist appointment. Can you shoot me an email? Our parents are checking email. That's another way we're looking to improve that. Yes. In 6th grade, we do not have any separation at all. Everyone is placed as a 6th grade student. There's so much going on in their lives transitionally. And not to discredit the elementary school, but we like to use our own data. So we gather that data throughout the first half of the year in 6th grade, and then we start to make some decisions on whether or not students need to be placed in separate spots, and it's in with communication with the parents. But as they come in, everyone is a clean slate. How do you grade? Ooh, great question. So you all, right, so you guys have lived competency-based. Okay, so just to give you some backside, that is actually a state mandate. That is not something that Timberlane's choosing to do on their own. That is the state of New Hampshire and what they are directing every school district to do. So whether you want to believe it or not, every school will eventually be on competency-based education. However, we still find value in what I'll call traditional-based grading. So this class coming in is going to be the first class again. Next year in 6th grade in their Unified Arts classes, they will live in a hybrid model. So you will see both traditional grading, and I'll speak to it in a second, and competency-based education. And then the following year, when your students become 7th graders, our building will be transitioning to 6th, 7th, and 8th hybrid model. And then the following year, which would be 21, 22, I think my math is right, the high school will be transitioning. So next year's 6th grade class are going to be the first ones to live hybrid-based grading. That means you're going to see assignments that come home with A, B, C, D, F, 0 to 100. But then you're also going to see assignments that are competency-based grading. So not everything that they'll be doing will A, B, C, D, F, or 100 point, and not everything will be doing competency. And then there are going to be ones that live in both worlds, and you'll see that. So when you click on, we've already, brand new report card, you're going to have on Power School, you'll see your traditional side with all the assignments that have counted towards traditional. And then when you click on the next tab, you'll see the competency-based assignments and where your student is based on that at that time. And then you're also going to have a new part. It's called work habits. Do you guys have that in 5th grade? All right, so that's another state-driven mandate. So you're going to see a report out from teams on work ethic, preparation, organizational skills, that type of stuff. So you're going to get a more in-depth reading of your student than you ever have. So you'll get your traditional honor roll piece that's tied to your honor roll. Then you're going to get a competency-based side to show where your students are on their skills, and then you'll get a report out on their work study habits. Any more good questions? You're on fire. I can't speak to elementary and how it's worked. All I know is we're going to live in both worlds next year because we see value in both sides of that for students and for families. All right. Just traditional. Just traditional. And to give you even more background on the middle school, we've actually already lived competency-based, which was it's before my time. About 5 or 6 years ago. or they switched to only that, and then it kind of went back and forth. So we're traditional now, and next year will be hybrid. Anything else before we all melt? So every classroom is different. So our science labs, you'll see tables. In language arts, you'll see desks. Furniture has been one of my passions. I did a huge research project in one of my master's programs about how well good furniture can help education move forward. So I've been interjecting. We have wobble chairs, we have high desks, we have low desks, we have bean bags. So there's really no direct answer to you. Some classrooms have the tables, some classrooms have individual desks. Some tables have both desks and tables. Some have high workstations, cafe tables, where they're sitting on the stools. So we have furniture, it's everywhere. Yeah, it's middle school classrooms can be even more chaotic than maybe some of the elementary, but that would be more of a conversation with me directly with the teacher and classroom management. And if that's the feeling of a student coming out of it or being relayed to a parent, and that's a bigger conversation for me and Ms. Hutnick to have with the teacher by saying, here's some of the information we're receiving, what are you doing in the classroom? Is there really distraction going on? Sometimes when students convey something to parents, it's completely different than what's actually occurring. Sometimes when teachers convey something about the students, it's completely different than what's occurring. So we live in the world of trying to figure it out. But if that's the experience that you're having, make sure you contact us for sure. Sure. Not to speak... Sure. So the question is, do the teams interact throughout the day? And not to speak to the twin situation, I'm going to advise you to talk to Mr. Champion, because we've had a lot of twins come through, and they've done both. They've been on the same team, and they've been on opposite teams. But to speak specifically to teaming, the core classes, they are teamed, and you only have your teammates in those core classes. In Unified Arts classes, they're mixed, so they get interaction throughout the building, throughout the day. During transitional times, they see each other in the halls. But specifically, if they are on opposite teams, they will not see each other in those 4 core classes or lunchtime. Those are all team-based. Transition time, that's an interesting, we don't have a bell in the middle school. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so it can range anywhere from 2 minutes to 5 minutes. Sometimes you're judging on your team that day. Do they need a couple more minutes to do things? So there's no bells. It's all team-based decision, yeah. But basically, the only time I really hear from teachers is when they're late to Unified Arts. So, because they take their time at that point in the day. They're all done. So, I feel bad for Unified Arts teachers. Anything else? If you remember something as you're walking out the door, please shoot us an email. I'm going to ask, Ms. Hutnick, you want me to take the exit ticket thing? Or do you want to do it?
I would like to...
All right, Ms. Hutnick, got you one more second. All right.
Thank you so much. I know that was a lot of information. I am going to have, these are the things from the nurse for Camp Lincoln, if you did not get that. For allergies, we have the athletics. And Mrs. Cafella is going to take that and bring it out into the hallway. Also, the exit, we have exit tickets right out there. If you would please fill that out and just check it off about the information. Thank you. And then put the information in the exit ticket. That would be great, in the exit ticket box. One last thing to say. Probably the biggest change is going to be the time your students get up. It's going to be early. It is going to be early. They're going to be tired. You're going to be tired because you're going to be getting up earlier too. So I think that's probably the biggest change, and especially at the beginning of the year. But we are so excited to have your children coming up soon, and we are so thankful that you came this evening, and we appreciate that. Thank you so much.